Welcome back, friends, to Occultists Anonymous, sponsored by Roll20, The Onyx Path, and viewers like you. Thank you very much for your ongoing support monetarily. That helps us with tech. Special thank you to Adele, Al, Alan Michael, Alexander, Angfalith, Bernie, Blood Angel, Born After Final Fantasy VII, Brandon, Chris, Daniel, Doc the Undead, Delore, Emil, Funzusu Ali, George, Jack, Jenny, John, Josh, Julian, Catfeathers, Crazy Man 1772, Melissa, Michael, Milo V3, Ms. Grumpy, our favorite Promethean, Moku, Neomagus, Noba, Other Michael, Parker, Perry, Puppeteer, Ralph's Missing 5% of Blood, Riapio, Ryan, Shaksara, Sinna, Terran, The Arcane, Thomas, Toast, Usuf Sama, Vortex, Woodsaum, and Zoltan. Thank you all so much for your support. It does mean a lot to us and, helps us out, say, if our mic finally gives up the ghost and have to do something new. Yeah. Okay. Less loud, more peaking a bit. Yep. Okay. Yep, that sounds about right. I've got it fine-tuned. It has been a day. Patrons didn't do name shenanigans. We had two people who did patron shenanigans. Whatever. We had Camo making fun of the fact that he was born after Final Fantasy VII came out.
Camo's the infant.
Yes. And Noctowl was claiming some of Ralph's blood. Yeah. So when we last left the Cabal, they had just recovered from a...
Point of order, I don't know if it's fair to call us a Cabal yet.
Yeah.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Well, he's a time mage.
Kind of tolerate each other.
Yeah. Yeah, the loose collection of magical acquaintances.
Come on, Drew is a Mastigos, right? If you're ever going to be a Cabal, you were always a Cabal.
It's true.
That's how time works, right?
Yeah, sort of. I don't know that Cabals fall under the same supernal, you've awakened and you've always been a mage. Yeah.
Maybe a legacy.
It might have in Weird's case,
Weird's...
considering her fate was tied to the legacy and the Cabal. Requires awakening.
We pick up after the recovery of the Enright Mind #1 after it had collapsed and everybody was recovered. Poor Arthur Cole was crushed and damaged pretty heavily, but is gonna make it. Yep. And then we have Theo and Gisela heading back into the mine to try and figure out, wait, hang on, why did this happen? Because it shouldn't have. Theo gets frustrating answers of, nah, this shouldn't have collapsed. Why did it? But it did. Meanwhile, Gisela is looking at this swirling vortex of energies pulling things in that are especially confirming with Theo, who says, I don't see this. Yep, this is some weird fate shenanigans. And then use time magic, post-cognition, to confirm, yes, even... Oh, not Warner Enright. Mortimer Bethune was just as surprised about this collapse as everybody else. And I think we pick up just to kind of finalize that night as Cloak had been, Jean-Paul, had been, returned back to the barracks to rest up after monumental amounts of effort. So yes, we pick up with Isabel sitting down and, if I remember correctly, sliding a beer across to Mortimer and saying, and picking up with them having a little chit chat.
Yeah, I didn't remember where we were when this was happening.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, you were in...
Or if we established it, but if we're in the tavern, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, less of a, slide it to him as a bartender, and more like coming around and sitting down on a stool. So, it's been an awful lot of really interesting things happening since you arrived.
I think he, takes the beer with his, his good arm, kind of draws it across and kind of eyes you up and says, "Well, are you just noticing them?" And I think he, is this, what's the bias?
Confirmation bias. I don't know. But I do know that nothing much has happened in this town since I've been here. And since you've gotten here, had a crazy thunderstorm come out of nowhere. And, well, obviously today's events are outside of the norm, with you centered right at them.
Takes a long sip from his beer, kind of looks over at you and says, "The entire time you've been here, you've never seen a large thunderstorm or seen a mine collapse?"
Let me put it this way. Things happen here, obviously. Stories don't happen here. My friend, you are part of a story.
Don't think that I quite like being called a story. I study things. I don't make things happen.
I'm just pointing it out.
I don't much care to, whether implicitly or not, no, implied or not, it be suggested that I am responsible for a mine collapse or a thunderstorm.
No. All I'm saying is that it makes me intrigued.
Trying to think of where he would go with this. Actually, yeah. Well, if it's, so intriguing, do you have questions to investigate?
Sure. What about the stars makes you need to study them here? As far as I'm aware, they have them everywhere.
So, Isabel is familiar with fast talk and I believe even jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, without me digging out an astronomy book, you basically
I get jargoned.
You get jargoned hard, and it is all. I mean, for actually, yeah. Go ahead and roll some intelligence plus science to try and kind of follow along.
Could this be a? Can I propose more of a we're fast talking each other, like a pose sort of thing?
What is the rules normally for fast talk? Because I don't think he's actually using fast talk.
He's just using words and that he knows you probably don't know.
All right, pulled right up to it. Awesome. So with the first dot, when a mark contests or resists your character's social interactions, apply -1 to their resolve or composure. Jargon lets you apply a specialty to any skill, as long as the specialty is relevant.
Gotcha.
And the third one is Devil's Advocacy, where you sort of bait and switch all your opinions all the time, and you can reroll a failed subterfuge roll per turn or per scene.
Gotcha. Notably, I think what you're... It's not even that level of stuff. You're basically, it's just, and like I said, this is more on my end, he's hitting you with legitimate jargon and explaining, well, when you come over this way and, come south from, well, actually not too south, but south from London, you see, a different set of constellations. You see stars a little bit differently, things of that nature. Now, technically, you got to get way south, but he's lying because sure. Craig is giving me this look, and I'm like, yes, I know that's not 100% of how it works.
I mean, they are in different places in the sky.
Sure. And daylight, nighttime, like the position of the terminus at certain times and stuff would alter what you would see, I suppose. So but
what do you want me to roll?
Intelligence plus science to try and keep up with him, basically.
Okay, that's like to know what he's talking about.
Yeah. How much do you know about astronomy?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Would there be any other option for like just getting the fact that he's lying?
Yeah, I guess we can do it that way too. So that would be, is it wits plus either empathy or subterfuge -2? Because
sure.
Yep.
That's still a much better roll. Nope.
All right. So with that, he basically throws a bunch of, and you basically get a good explanation of, no, he has a reason to be out this far west, for this, and throw in some light pollution, which probably really wasn't too much of a problem way back then, but
in London it would be
for sure. Yeah.
All right. And what about all the particularly fancy scribbling Rilla's got in her book?
Yeah, sorry, for podcast folks. Yeah, he kind of sits silently, kind of confused at what you're talking about, then has a nod of, yes. And it's basically, he kind of looks across and says, you might not quite understand the cutthroat nature of the scientific community, but myself and my associates write in a kind of cipher to keep our notes concealed from competitors. It's not really a concern here, but when we return back to London, if those notes were taken, maybe an issue.
All right, I get it. That's why I never write down any of my music. People can't copy me if they don't know what I played.
It's true, and if you're improvising that all from the top of your head, I must congratulate you. It is pretty phenomenal playing.
Thank you. Well, it's not improv, it's, there's actual learning associated with it, obviously. Very well.
I appreciate the beer, Isabel. And, if you have
Absolutely.
more questions of...
Good luck with the arm.
Oh, yeah. If you have any more questions of the scientific nature, feel free to speak to me or my associates.
Mm-hmm. And if you find yourself at the center of any more adventures,
you'll be there
perhaps
to record
I'll write
them.
A song for it.
Perfect. And that kind of wraps us up with kind of that specific event, and we move forward into some downtime. Yeah. Which is very amusing because I asked all four of them of like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And I got 4 very different styles of answers. Chris gave me a short ABCD short answer stuff. Craig gave me 3 lines of like this thing, this thing, this thing, and then Cloak. Ralph gave me paragraphs, which is very good because now I know fully what we are up to. And then Ash was like, "Yeah, I want to do this thing." So it was cool. I have them all in my notes, and I don't even have to mark who is who because they are all very distinctly different. Does anyone, and my plan is to kind of cycle through all of these, and we're going to keep them basically on the shorter, like descriptive side, without getting too drawn into long scenes. Though I think there's one,
like a couple lines each,
if
it's like between characters and stuff, right?
And notably, and there's the graveyard. That Craig is, we're definitely going to have a bit more of a scene there depending on who all goes. And then also, I think...
I definitely want to go.
And I think there was one, because Cloak and Isabel talking about spirits and stuff like that is another one that we'll definitely start off with. But is anybody, because we're basically fast forwarding over 2 weeks, so a lot of this is going to be downtime of you guys kind of relaxing, somebody healing up their foot, just kind of normal day-to-day stuff as basically all the wild shenanigans that have been going on kind of settle into a bit of a lull. We're waiting on packages to arrive that have been ordered from, I do need to look up the closest fort, and getting shipped downriver. People are, the mine is closed for 4 days, as they kind of investigate and look it over, some stuff like that. But yeah, does anybody have a specific one that they're like, let's, want to start there? Otherwise, I'll start picking.
I think that's okay with me.
I can start with the scouring, which I wanted to do. It goes along with like healing up your leg. Basically, Gisela's been spending a lot of time trying to just sort of strain magically and press further and see what the boundaries she has are. Nothing flashy, but like little things, like further, more complicated divinations, or like looking at the fate binds between people in town. And as a result, has no mana.
Sure.
And is very compelled to try to find a way to fix that without hurting. So basically, imagine she's just sitting there one day, basically on the floor of the bedroom by herself, trying to rearrange a puzzle, basically. Take this and put it here. And it's like, you can take from, like, a wound, but that's bad. That had me limping for, like, 3 days. Until she finally sort of realizes you can just sort of sap. And you're tired, and now you can't lift as many things at the shop, and this kind of sucks, but you have mana, and you're not hurt.
Yeah, no visible wound, and I would imagine she probably actually starts with stamina, and be like, okay, I give up this, and then starts to realize that, I could actually do this with strength and stuff like that. So cool. So off of that, is anybody else there with you? Or is this a kind of quiet thing?
Yeah. Do you share that with anyone?
That's the next question.
I would tell them, but the discovery part of it is definitely me just sitting in the bedroom floor and trying to like rearrange a puzzle box. Figure out what you can put into this slot, apart from what I already know, which works, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
So, just several days of, we'll take this. And then that leads to this result.
I like it. Cool. So yeah, you can go ahead and fill up your mana, because over the next couple days of 24 hours and getting 3 mana back, you only need 3-4 days. How long before you actually mention it to somebody else?
Probably a couple of days once I've realized what I'm actually doing and that this is going to work all the time.
Cool.
And not just like, this wasn't a fluke.
All right. And then, real quick, what is everybody else's reaction to it? Do you jump in and go like, "Oh, this is perfect," or does anybody sit and take some time to experiment with it before they kind of lean into it?
Well, go ahead, Greg.
But Theo would definitely experiment a little bit.
Cool.
To get a feel for the limits of it, and how much damage she can do to herself. She'd want to be pretty careful about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Isabel would definitely jump in on it, and then also double down on it with like a couple life spells here and there. Of like, okay, what exactly just happened? And with life sight and stuff, like, I feel like that would,
Yeah. So
pretty quickly get a grasp of what you had done.
Cool. So we'll mark down for later an arcane beat for that as you kind of study that first. For chat, yes, you can heal with mana. It's 3 mana to heal a wound, but it's not great. Bad
Getting ratioed.
Yep. Because you're only taking 1 wound, but healing a wound. But you heal the. It's just not worth it. Not what you can
get
do.
life too if you want a pattern restore often.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even then, still not great.
It's not great.
I mean, it's great for bashing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like 1 mana per 3 or something like that.
1 mana per 1 bashing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's
that's
still
2
not
mana
great.
per 1 lethal. So, I mean, you can cast a spell at life 3, but so you take 3 bashing. 3 mana is not that bad.
Mm-hmm. And then
It could make a
alive.
difference.
right. And then what about
It's good for mid combat.
yes?
Yeah, exactly.
And what about Jean Paul?
So Jean-Paul Cloak is intrigued, as you can imagine, and asks Gisela a number of pointed questions about the extent of her experimentation. And then over the course of the next day, he does the following things. First, or the next 2 days, 2 or 3 days, he does the following things. The first thing he does is he attempts to replicate her injuring herself, like injuring her ankle, and gaining mana from that. Then he tries to do it again. So he tries to harm himself and gain from that. So he tries to scour twice in a day almost immediately, right? Like right after he gained power, he tries to see how often he can do it. Then he starts sapping other parts and sees the extent, right? He tries to sap his will. He tries to sap his focus before he realizes he can only really sap his strength and stamina.
Cool.
Right? Considering where his dex is. And then after that, he starts injuring himself. So, content warning for anybody with self-injury, right? But what Cloak starts doing is he tries to see if the reverse is possible. So he recognizes that you can scour and the consequence is you might experience an injury, you gain mana. He wonders if I break my hand, right? But he doesn't go that far yet. But like if I cut myself, do I gain mana, right? If I can do it in reverse, if I gain mana from being injured, or if it's a different process. He tries to see if there's some mundane thing he can do, considering, his focus on triumph through hardship. Like, all right, if I can just exert myself in some other capacity, or is there a way that if I am injured, I can use that to empower myself?
Cool.
And I think that's when he starts trying to see if there's a relationship between the mana and the injury, which, if it makes sense to you, what I was thinking is it'd lead to him learning to restore his pattern.
Yeah, and that's where I was leaning towards that. It's like, okay,
Cool, great.
Work it out in the reverse. Yep. And then also discovering that, well, right now, limited to once per day.
Cool.
Right. Theo would also take because she can see her own pattern and see the mana in it. Can she do that to anyone else? Look at other people's patterns, and is it
possible to take mana from their patterns?
Yeah.
Cool. So quickly discover and specifically that's 3 dots death. Not yet, but and I think that's because I know what you're planning to do later. Yeah, I think that's one of those like, there's more I can do with this. Because that's also a thing that, you all know that you have your Gnosis 1 and your current Arcana. It's like there's some things that, well, actually for all of you, I can do with the subtle stuff, but I can't do with the gross stuff. and starting to realize that the Arcana can develop and learn more, because up until now you guys have just been chilling where you're at. So but yeah, definitely I like that as a lead into what I know you've got planned for later. So it's like, there's more here. Cool, I like that. And then I'm gonna pop in here and start us not start us off, continue that as we have, and like I said, we'll take some of these a little bit longer, and we have oh my god, names Theo and Isabel. Nope. Theo and Gisela, and heading into the graveyard, probably under the cover of darkness, I imagine. Yeah,
for sure.
Because that's not
Seems like a good time to go to a graveyard.
right, and also not the kind of thing you want to be seen going, oh yeah, we're just going to wander around the graveyard for no reason, because neither of you have any loved ones in the graveyard to even visit or anything like that. So cool. So yeah, we'll play this one out kind of short-ish, but yeah, going in and do you help Gisela out at all, Theo, for seeing ghosts?
Yeah, but like to let her know and make sure she's cool. Like you're gonna see this big horrible looking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Isabel showed me things. Can you?
Okay. But I'm gonna give her a warning, like she's gonna see this gothic like archway.
It's very bad.
It looks really nasty, and there's gonna be a guardian who's pretty protective of it.
Yeah, so, and that's the other question. Have you, because if I remember correctly, you haven't gone into the graveyard.
No.
Cool.
I would have checked to make sure that there was one here, like that there was a gate and a guardian and stuff, but I wouldn't have done anything.
Oh, so you've seen one before?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Like she's seen one in the middle of the empty prairie one time, which was kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or something like that. So yeah, I definitely extend the is it Speak with the Dead?
It's what lets you see them.
Yep. So I do the Speak with the Dead with her.
Yep. Yeah, obviously don't need to roll that. But yeah, so you guys have a nice little trip out to the fairly small graveyard. There's definitely, a number of folks here, but it's not, number of bodies buried here. The number of ghosts, obviously, both within 2E canon, but also within, into the West, not everybody leaves a ghost. It's people who have reason to stay behind and linger and stuff like that. And they are not okay. Like opening up your guys' eyes to the dead. There are, there are 4 ghosts within the graveyard. 3 of whom are basically just lying atop or wandering around their specific gravesite. And it's mumbling and shaking, or another one is just continually just punching at their gravestone, which they're making no actual contact with, but they seem to just punching at it, almost like like a punching bag, and just murmuring and occasionally crying out, and it's not a good scene. Another one is a little bit more cognizant and is watching and just watching everything, and of course everything's within Twilight, so the physical world is kind of hard to see. And then yes, there is the 5th. There is a basically a farmer, has a big mallet, and not exactly coveralls, but the 1846 equivalent, standing before this just curved stone archway that just leads into nothingness. It is just this empty void with wrought iron gates, with a big gnarly padlock across it. And the farmer is just pacing back and forth in front of it, almost soldier-like, just kind of watching and carrying the mallet, in my hands, carrying the mallet and swapping it back and forth, and just, it looks almost peasant militia, but no rifle. But, he is on guard, and this is his job. And compared to the other ghosts who look more or less human, but tattered and broken and stuff like that, this one seems a little bit more undead, in the fact that the clothing is there, but there are bits of like grave dirt on the shoulders, little specks of grass come up. There's a little bit of dirt sitting atop his head and just like constantly just falling off of him, just like this continually just pulled out of the grave kind of look to him.
So don't get close. They're not really sentient, and if you try and interact with them, they can get angry.
Can you help them?
I've been thinking about that, but I don't know how, because I can't. Like, they don't communicate, and if you interrupt what they're doing, they just get like angry and violent.
Not even that one? I'm pointing at the one that's like watching us?
Well, that I'm not sure about.
You're just talking from past experience, not these ghosts specifically?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've seen ones like these other ones before, and it's almost like they're just trapped in something, and if you try and get them out of it, they get really angry. But I can see what's binding them here. So maybe I could do something with that. But the really interesting one for me is the guy by the gate. Because I've seen people like him before in strange places. Like every graveyard I've been to has had one. But I've also seen them in places where there wasn't a graveyard, but maybe there was some long time ago or something.
Have you tried talking to them?
Not beyond like eye contact, like I see you and they can see me, like in acknowledging that. I haven't tried approaching them yet.
Do you want to?
Sure.
So you guys kind of tiptoe around the edge of the graveyard and kind of make your way to, the edge and where the ghosts are, and come in towards the center, which I imagine is where the gate is, because of course it's in the middle. And the farmer who's been doing the patrols kind of comes around, and the patrols stop, and it becomes more of an active watch of you, and it's definitely quizzical more than like wary, because he sees the two of you and you two look normal, like especially to even the dead ghosts over there who show signs of injury and are a little off from human. You guys look absolutely normal, which he probably doesn't ever see. Just kind of watches you, and this Chris is making a face. Normally wouldn't see like with this clarity within Twilight, the way they stand out with Speak with the Dead, because seeing out of Twilight everything's gray and muddled and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
And kind of looks over at the two of you, especially as you kind of start coming closer, and it is this fairly very resonant, very echoey voice, like coming out from a pit, and says, "Hello?"
Hi.
And like startled back just a little bit, the fact that you respond.
It's okay.
Yeah, not necessarily, scared, but just surprised. And kind of looks from you, looks over to the other ghosts who, don't seem to have noticed you or acknowledged your presence, and goes, "What do you want?"
Just to ask some questions and to understand. I've seen, they think they're people. I've seen people like you before, standing around similar structures, but I don't understand It looks like you're guarding it. But maybe you need some questions answered first.
Well, yeah, you're damn straight I'm guarding it. You don't want anything coming out of here.
Oh, that's what you're there for.
And then kind of, the thumb over the shoulder. That's hell.
Ooh. Mental scribbling on the notepad.
Gate to hell in our graveyard. Cool.
Not just this one.
All graveyards?
It's a few that I've seen. And is this something you chose to do, or somebody give you this task?
Now that you mention it, never really thought about it. I just know this is my purpose. Keep it locked. Nothing comes out. Unless, kind of points over to, the ghost and says, unless one of those poor souls is ready to go in.
Oh, they can go in?
Never come out.
So you can open it if you need to.
I don't open it. It opens for them. It's not quite pleasant.
Oh.
Who were you?
Sorry, what was that, Ash?
Who were you?
Jedediah. Friends called me Jed.
Do you know how long you've been here?
Kind of turns and looks down and points at the gravestone that's like right next to him. Past, I'm guesstimating, 15 years.
I really want to scrutinize it with fate. Let's try to see what's bound in here.
Would you let me study you for a moment? Just look.
I'm trying to speak like Jedediah, but, define study. What you mean?
Well, I can see ghosts and understand some of the things that hold them here. But but I'm used to seeing folks like them, and points over towards the guy just bashing his grave marker and that. Like, they don't talk. I can't talk to them, but I can talk to you. Which tells me you're different somehow. I'd like to understand that.
I guess.
Thank you so much. This means a lot to me.
I'm just gonna look at you giddy. It's like...
Yep. All right. Let's do a scrutiny.
Okay.
It's just Gnosis and Fate, right?
Mm-hmm. And then tell me before you roll how many mana you are spending to get some bonus successes.
Say 2.
Okay. And I will tell you that for Craig, this is an opacity 2. For Ash, because you're studying what's binding him here, it's an opacity 3.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say 2.
And I'll spend 2 as well.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah. So, Gisela is able to make a little bit of progress and understand that a little bit of what's going on here. The big red flag that you get is this is not the magic that you have studied. This is not supernal. This is something about this place, and I don't know how you view or how Gisela views fallen magic and some of the stuff that she's seen and probably read, compared to the supernal stuff that you do. But yeah, you can definitely tell that difference. And like, this is not something, heavenly, so to speak, but this is very kind of mundane, but, is part of this world. And yeah, Theo, you kind of stare down, what are you? And just get nothing. But it does unfortunately mean you got to spend that mana.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys can definitely come back over the next couple days and do this. So if you guys want to roll a couple more, if this becomes like a little experiment for you guys. Hey, look, we're gonna throw a bunch of dice at scrutiny. Whoops.
2.
Cool. If you want to go ahead and do one more. Cool. And spend some willpower.
I threw some willpower at it, yeah.
Yep. And so that brings you both down to 1 opacity. Of course, if you fail after these...
willpower. I'll try one more time.
Cool.
4.
And 1. Cool. And I'm not worried about doing a revelation roll afterwards. But yeah, so you guys get... a pretty good breakdown of, this is a Geist. This is, and I think you definitely tell that this is a rank 3, at least imagine you guys share notes. But yeah, Theo, you can tell this is a rank 3, and which you definitely get the vibe that this is something like where these that you've spoken to and kind of poked at before are just like ghosts. This is a ghost plus something else on top of it that probably, considering it's the underworld, probably feels kind of icky and gross and oppressive, though this specific one seems like it has a not necessarily good on the moral vibe, but good on the helpful side of things. It has a job to do, and you might not necessarily like it, but it's very good that they're here, kind of thing. Because and then I think that actually comes into what Gisela gets, which is a lot of this thing is here. Jed is here because he's the first to be buried here, and with him became a graveyard, and because it is a graveyard, it needs this gate. Now, what you necessarily get from that, and I don't think you quite get the why these things are necessary so much as Jed is tied to the graveyard, which is tied to the death gate, which is tied to the underworld, and kind of I imagine kind of the fate kind of guides the flow of like, okay, this is all kind of connected and necessary for one another.
I was basically seeing it as like you had a life with a whole bunch of threads, and then you died, and then that, since you were the first one to die, that sort of brought up a new thread, and it's only one, and it does not branch, and it goes on forever.
Yep.
So that first one buried there is a significant revelation for Theo. Mm-hmm. And sort of kind of edging around it, she would try to get a feel. Does he understand anything about what he is, or how this happens, or what makes a death gate? He knows nothing at all about it.
Nope. He's got no idea, other than his purpose is to keep things from coming out unless they're supposed to. And I imagine over the past couple days, you guys have had a little bit of conversation with him, but it basically comes down. Some things are allowed out, but they're nasty, and I don't like them.
Are you saying that Jed is the judge of whether or not people come out?
Yes.
Right.
I appreciate you acknowledging the joke, other than Chris's little half smirk. I didn't even get a chuckle from any of you assholes.
Sorry, I'm in Theo's head right now, and she's thinking like she buried her husband and son.
But was it a graveyard? Or was it just a lone grave?
She didn't know enough to understand, like she was like dew still dripping off of her awakening kind of thing, and didn't understand anything about what had happened. So I don't think she would have even noticed if there was one.
Right.
Yeah, that does make me really curious as to if it is... Because, I mean, people die and get buried by themselves all the time. Mm-hmm. Is it... Do you only get one if it is in an intentional graveyard? there's intended to be a space for mini graves.
Sounds like something to study.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gonna have to kill some people and make some graves. How many
Very well
graves
played.
makes a graveyard?
What?
Bury it
Well,
outside the
come on.
graveyard and see if you get one.
Yep.
It's just like making an omelet.
You put that speedrun category up, right?
Right.
That's
And just to put a bow on this, like
Perfect.
Jed does not have a soul at all.
No.
There's nothing. There's no soul.
And because with Deathsight, you know these guys neither have a soul and they are not a soul.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I go next?
Absolutely, because
Probably backing up a couple days.
Mhm.
Like maybe even like the morning after everything happened.
Mhm.
While Cloak is still probably recovering from his exertions, Isabel makes the trip up to the mine to the barracks.
awesome.
And asks to see Cloak. I assume probably sees Sanite and Miss EJ.
Yeah, a bunch of other folks who are going to go
Right.
nameless for the moment.
Oh, they got names up there.
Oh, do we? Okay.
Yeah, look at there. There's names, ranks. You don't got Vice and Virtue, but pull names out of that if you want. Got 10 more names.
So what is the barracks like? What is Cloak's bedroom?
What's the word? Austere?
Spartan.
Yeah. It is clean.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of hard edges. Or hard surfaces,
Right.
not hard edges. Smooth and round edges. And the surfaces are hard. So he sleeps on a thin pallet on the ground. Let's see, what else would be assorted? You know, there's a little bit of color that might surprise you in there. Like daubs of paint
Fabrics
in various
and
places. Or I shouldn't say surprise you, Chris. I mean, it might surprise others, right?
Sure.
Based on their perceptions of Cloak. And yeah, what does he have there? He has his Asan. You see that, like, placed on a stool by itself. He has a few miscellaneous trappings of Boldu. Some feathers. It looks like some dried bones. There's some chicken bones. Some carvings. And yeah, the leather duster you've seen him wear sometimes. And he's probably
Right.
like laying on the pallet without his tunic on.
Just pants.
Yeah, just his pants.
Cool. So I'm assuming Isabel gets kind of like more or less just pointed in a direction, not really like shown in or whatever.
Probably. Although I think Sanite, I wrote her as the one who's quite engaging. She's, let's see. Yeah, she's kind and patient. So
Sure. But,
she might
like-
be inclined to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Fair enough.
I'm cool with however you want to play it. Yeah,
Yeah.
If people just point
Either
and they're
way.
like, it's up to you.
Either way,
Yeah.
I get to you in some way. Right.
Sounds good.
And I will take out my flute
hmm
and just say good morning, and then just start playing a little soft and low, kind of quiet, relaxing sort of song.
Cloak closes his eyes and does not yet rise. But you see a smile emerge from his face.
A real one, not a Terminator one.
Yeah, exactly. Genuine relaxation he's experiencing.
You are a good man.
Cloak leans up at that. Says, not many people have said that to me.
Not many people have witnessed an extraordinary deed of life-saving strength.
It wasn't always that I was able or compelled to use my strength to help someone. and I'm glad that I had the opportunity.
Fair. May I show you something?
Yes, please.
And I will let you see some spirits.
Ooh, cool.
And I don't think you need to actually roll that unless...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't make Craig roll it, so...
Right, yeah. try to keep these kind of on the shorter side, yeah.
We're in narrative time. Yeah.
For story
and
purposes, it works.
So you can see the little ivy crawling around of Ganem, and I will just ask him to say hello if he wishes. And then, before you get on one of your rolls, so welcome to the spirit, and I'll say it in high speech, world.
Cloak looks around and looks at you, and he already knows what the answer is, but he needs
These
to
are not
confirm it for
Cholula.
himself. He says, not, and then he says mind in high speech.
No,
Definitely not.
definitely not.
You see Cloak stilling his combination of fright, confusion, and excitement.
Mhm.
Because you're blowing his mind.
I just
And-
came here to tell you.
Yeah, it's
That-
threatening for him as well,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
In the identity crisis
Isabel
sense,
knows.
right? Yeah. So continue. Sorry, you were talking in character.
You, I came here to show you this, and to tell you, to challenge you, as you so like to be challenging others.
I love that so much.
There's more going on in the world than can be seen just from any one viewpoint. And it may perhaps behoove us to not be so certain that where we are standing is the best.
First Theo's dreams and Metet, air quotes there,
Mhm.
and now this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
This is a great precursor to the conversation he needs to have with the entity in his own head.
Mhm.
Like, how come you didn't tell me?
I didn't know either, man.
How would it
Weirder than
know?
you thought.
Right? Yeah.
You, while you were digging yesterday, I bargained with the spirit of the mine itself. And if you felt something, some greater strength or ability, I believe it was its doing.
Can I thank it?
If you want,
It's kind of gross.
he's it. They are grotesque.
And when you say that, Cloak smiles and says, "You must not know much of the petrol law."
Nope. But I didn't come here for lessons. And she just starts playing her flute again.
One thing I do want to kind of touch on, because we talk about Ganem being there, but there's, especially considering what this place is and what the cult, strives for it to be, because within the barracks, like, it's not a bunch of maroons miners. Within the walls here, it is definitely the cult, the children of the broken chains, because I'm not going to attempt the French, but I imagine there are some definite spirits, because like we've talked about, we're throwing out too many wacky spirits, but there's definitely the spirits of, I don't know necessarily that camaraderie and teamwork is quite there, but this kind of sense of cooperation or brotherhood or some kind of there's some emotional tie there. I can't quite think of that. Like, is sitting here, and especially for Isabel coming in here and having seen, Alfoff, and then the grotesquerie of the mine, and then coming in here and seeing this, I don't quite know what it would look like, but it is, this like almost.
Is there a fireplace here?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Can it
be a hearth,
kind of like a
hearth
ring.
spirit?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Are there any sleepwalkers in the cult? We don't know.
We haven't determined that yet.
Yep.
I suspect somebody's going to be or become one at some point.
But yeah, you have that moment of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not grotesque. Not quite community and home, because that would be more Goche within the way we're doing spirits and Goche within this chronicle. But yeah, it's more emotional ties for spirits, objects, spirits, natural phenomenon.
Cool. And I didn't really have anything else in that scene. It was just I liked sort of like Cloak looking around and Isabel playing the flute and just sort of drifting off from there.
Right. And
Cloak looks like a child who you simultaneously told that Santa Claus is not real and that they will be okay no matter what happens in their life.
I was thinking, told him Santa Claus isn't real, and also congratulations, Harry, you're a wizard.
Well, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's like there's this whole other world. And I know we're getting close to our normal break, but we can take our break whenever. But I thought this was actually a good spot to transition into Cloak dealing with the Maroons after the collapse, because
Perfect.
Like Chris said, this is just a day or two after the mine collapse, and the mine is still closed. At this point, especially if Cloak has been a little on the bedridden side. Yes.
Can I just interject? Did Theo and Cloak have a conversation about the collapse was not an accident?
Theo and Cloak probably at this point would.
Theo mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
Carry on. Sorry for
During the mine, you said this was not an accident while he was exerting himself.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is the chance where the mine is shut down, and Messy Day and Sanite have probably gone in with the mine. Cloak has been down, and the other mine shift leaders have gone in, and you guys they've cleared the place out, and like everything is still okay. I think we can start it up. Warner is having conversations outside the barracks where not everybody can hear, but you guys can totally hear, right? It's that kind of
Invited eavesdropping.
Right, and a little bit movie trope where everybody's kind of, leaned over, but, Warner is basically like, hey, you're still getting paid, still, or something along the lines of take care of, buying rations for you all or something like that. It's like, it's going to be okay that you're not working. I'm going to take care of it, but we're still looking into this. And while they're having that conversation, or after the conversation, you get the tail end of Warner starting to talk to Ike, and Ike is not happy. You can't quite tell what he's unhappy about. One can assume and guess, before they've wandered off and they're having their private conversation. But you can't hear Warner's side of the conversation, but Ike's side of the conversation you can kind of pick up at a distance. And Ike doing Ike things, but. After
He's
which, oh yeah, at which Sanite and Messy J are able come in and kind of give everybody the news, and there's definitely some of the Maroons who are like, I don't care when it reopens, I'm done. Is definitely some of the grumbling that's coming around, because for them this is the first collapse, and all of them saw Arthur as he came out, and it was not a good look.
No, they don't want to be Arthur.
I don't know if Jean-Paul has a specific setup for that, or how you want to arrange that.
Sure. So Isabel coming over and allowing him to see spirits, in particular the spirit of the hearth, right, which is really helpful for where he's going with this. So what he'd do is he'd have like an evening ceremony, with, of course, the help of Sanité and Messige. And it would be different than the ceremonies they've done in the past, in that usually these things are focused around trying to prepare someone so that they can be mounted by one of the Loa, right? And then, of course, gain insight from that and follow through with the dictates. Because of everything, he needs to focus on something else, right? Which is recognizing that everyone's troubled, and we come here not to force people to do things. So he needs to directly address the fact that people are saying they don't want to work in the mine anymore, and see what he can do to provide them with a place with the rest of the Maroons, even if they aren't working in the mine. And it needs to be a group thing. So whereas before they're all from a country where they get told what to do, right? They all need to decide what they are going to do. If that is, some of us need to work harder because a few others need to be supported in their pursuit of something else, that's okay. If it is those people can't go back into the mine, but they can help with certain other aspects of mining, then that might be it. So I'll just, narratively describe it. It doesn't have to be in character, so we avoid taking too much time. But yeah, that would be it. It'd be the three of them, Sanité, Messige, and Cloak, engaging everybody, trying to have some consensus-based, one, discussion of their feelings, so things get affirmed. And then two, a group decision that we're not doing anything until we're all okay with it, until we've all chosen what we are doing as a group, because we can't let this tragedy break us apart.
Gotcha. So after that, basically you get two of your members who are like, I'm done with this mining thing, who basically, appreciate where Jean-Paul is coming from and is on board with still being team members, but say basically we're going to find work in town, or now that the bridge is there, maybe they need, more, because going from mining to manual labor out in the farms, they're like, I can do that, and seeing if they can do something like that, or and potentially the two of them are like, well, or we could go start a farm. Okay, we need to figure out how. And so the two of them have started this kind of plan. There are a couple others who are, especially some of those lower rank members that we talked about, who are, leaning more towards, I don't know that I can go back into the dark, right? But handling like the mules and offloading carts and doing this stuff outside, we're on board, and maybe we'll be able to get through this mental block and get back in there, which for the Mastigos and then the cult itself is like, okay, no, that's perfect, because this is exactly the kind of thing that we break through.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic. So Cloak will then, if two are insistent that they want to do something else, he'll also say, if you have any trouble whatsoever and are in need of resources, I'm certain that the Monsieur Enright would be willing to give you whatever you need.
Cool. Bold statement.
Instead of saying he'll force him to give us whatever he needs, he actually says he's sure that Monsieur Enright would give you whatever you need.
I like that. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, exactly. Right? He's trying to appeal to something different.
Okay,
See
cool.
Catherine?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. With because especially at this point, things have settled down. It's been a couple days. You've been doing these weird nightly trips out to the graveyard. Actually, do you let Catherine know that you're going to the graveyard, or that you're just going to be busy tonight?
It's pretty in character to let her know. Yeah, I don't necessarily talk about what I'm doing there. Not that I'd give her something to think about other than what I'm actually doing.
That's fair.
Like I'm going to study talk to the spirits, because that's something she used to do when she was practicing fallen magic. So nighttime, sitting around the campfire, Village is in bed. Theo's just having a pipe, and just Catherine, what do you think about sticking around here for a little bit?
Kind of leans back from the fire a little bit, kind of turns towards the town, kind of in the distance a little bit. of the places we've been, it's no worse than any other. And I'll be honest, some of the folks here are downright nice to us. Not all of them, but there's a couple. And, a very pointed glance. And you've been making friends, I think.
Yeah. Yes, I have. I'm as surprised as you are. So, should we see if we can get a room or a place? Or do you think people would rent to us, or should we build one?
Yeah, she looks back at the cart and she's like, what's wrong with our palace on wheels?
I may have grown up living in a cart running around the countryside, but I know that you haven't. And you've been a real trooper about it since San Francisco, but I thought we'd have that discussion and see if you're four walls and a roof that don't move.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, I would enjoy having our own place. And I don't think that... yeah, and for those of you watching, no, Craig is not the storyteller right now. Just deal with it. But welcome back. But no, I mean, I don't want to rent a room just to, have a room. I want a home. And if that means that we need to start saving a little bit, and if we need to start, if I need to, take on some more tasks, if you need to work longer or more nights with Madame Robert, if she'll use you, I'm ready to put that in for this, and I mean, maybe we can talk to Anastasio or Mr. Enright about a loan. Like
sort of a reflexive sort of frown at the thought of talking to Enright for a loan.
Right.
Yeah,
but Anastasio.
Anastasio's chill.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's very much not chill.
That's true. Anastasio is 100% not chill.
I definitely don't want to be beholden to a rich landowner.
No.
Just build them.
Right. Well, now it's getting the land from Enright now, because that's an Ike thing. Hi guys, we don't like Ike. Wink if you get the history joke. Anyways, but yes, I'm willing to put in the work and effort for this, and I'll be honest. And she kind of like shifts on the little stool, both gets a little bit closer to you, but B looks away from the town and out towards the river and towards the farm, and she's like, Enright doesn't own out there, and I mean, if we...
You clever girl. This is why I love you.
Well, I mean, kind of, looking around, like when you put it that way, but like this is, that's an option. And then we're out there, we're a little bit farther from town, but less people poking in, and then it's ours, and we might have to do a little bit of work to get it started.
That's a brilliant idea.
But I mean, we're already here. Like, literally just move the cart down, and I mean, and because I'm trying to remember, because does either Theo or Catherine have any like experience farming? I'm trying to remember.
Theo was a homesteader,
right?
And her husband broke ground and built a house and started a farm. Yeah, that's a brilliant idea.
And it's we'll be able to set up out there, and we can find some farm hands maybe, if we get it large enough, find somebody who's got an older, on its last legs, mule or oxen, and we can start small I mean, it kind of motions back at the cart again. It's like, we are literally, anything with this would be bigger.
Sure.
You know,
Okay,
we could buy a tent.
Okay, let's do it.
Finally. Just like hands up, just finally so done with this. And yeah, the relief of, you know, having put up with this, you know, good-naturedly, begrudgingly for how long? You know?
A year and a half or so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, having, you know, because, you know, the tiny little cart is terrific and all, but yeah, could we have a little bit of space? And, you know, yeah. So yeah, you guys have a moment thereafter, just because like you have those nice defining conversations, define the relationship conversations, and when they end on the positive end, they usually tend to end on the very positive end.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
and fade to the crackling fire. Yeah.
Right. But yes, Cloak also knows some people. Yeah. It's like, yeah, farm work? Yeah. Listen, I know these two guys.
Farmhands got you.
You need that. We got you.
Yep. But cool. And from that, we shift over to Jules and Rilla coming into the general store. You know, sometime probably getting closer towards the later end of our 2 weeks, and they've been making kind of regular check-ins with Gisela and Anastasia on the few days that Gisela isn't in because she's doing, you know, bullshit, magical bullshit. But kind of leans in and goes, is it in? Is it in? Is it in? But, you know, each time, you know, because you guys are close enough that a ship comes by maybe once every 2 to 3 days. Like, is never reliable enough or fast enough for, like, life-saving medicine to arrive. You know, you're still going to rely on, you know, the classic... It's not Iditarod. What's that race? With...
Is that not
the Huskies?
There's
the dogs.
There's the Balto. Yeah.
Yeah, Balto.
Iditarod.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Iditarod.
Okay, see, I did remember. Thank you. Trick question. Anyways, you know, so you still rely on people rushing on horseback or something like that for the quick, sudden, we need this right now supplies, which generally means out here you're fucked. But in, you know, the case of this stuff, little by little, some of the stuff has come in because some of it is coming from farther, you know, back east, and some of the stuff is more, you know, close by, and you accidentally end up with some duplicate, so they get some, and now you've got some stuff sitting up on a shelf, and then Anastasia is like, we are never selling this. Why? Who is going to sell this? But notably today of all days, the gold comes in, or has come in, and you know, it is this little vial with a little bit of I guess it'd be oil, probably not actually water, that it's suspended in. You know, these, you know, little gold flakes, which, you know, has a nice little dramatic, you flip it over and they kind of, you know, float through.
It's not in whiskey?
Whiskey maybe, actually, yeah. Oh, wait, hang on. That's a reference. Shit. I do get the reference. But, you know, little flakes in oil to, you know, prevent any kind of...
Keeps them clean and stops it from oxidizing.
Oxidation.
Does it? I don't think so.
I think because that's how it gets all funny colored, even if it's not rust. Yeah. But regardless.
Gold's mostly inert, but can oxidize.
Yep. Science. But yes. So that is in, along with some other stuff. And over the past weeks, you all, and we didn't quite have a scene with it, but Theo, I imagine, was able to supply a bunch of the various little herbs and knickknacks and stuff like that. So
for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Chad is reminding me that, yeah, there's a reason we use gold for coins, because it doesn't do that. Thanks, guys.
If you're watching, like, to keep it pure, like,
right.
prevent it from
being dirtied and stuff like that. And you are talking about little flakes, so you don't want to travel that in powder or something like that.
I mean, if they're doing alchemy with it.
That's true.
Haha, they are doing alchemy with it. I
Yes.
caught you in a trap.
I mean,
That was a great fish.
That was
Thanks.
elegant.
the wormwood and wolf's bane and all that stuff was also a bit of a giveaway.
Shh, I am a detective.
Sure, I'll buy you a little trilby.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and so they, you got a little small basket of different stuff that they had ordered, and yeah, they go nuts because the gold is here. That's the big one that they were concerned about getting and stuff like that. And so yeah, turning, looking at, and stuff like that.
And bringing it out with a flourish.
Ta-da! And yeah, you get like a over-the-counter hug from Rilla. She's like, "Oh, this is fabulous! This is exactly what we need. We were so concerned. Oh, and considering all of last week's shenanigans, because yes, we used shenanigans in 1846. We this will be the kind of pickup that Mr. Bethune is really going to need, playing with it and stuff like that. But I know you wanted to have a conversation, so they're here.
Mostly I wanted to just basically over the course of 2 weeks of meeting with them to have basically I want to make friends.
Sure. And I believe you were trying to open some doors before, right?
Yeah, with Rilla. I'm kind of leaning on a not unintelligent but uneducated country girl's not quite right because she's also basically been moved around a lot and isn't from your nice cities, shouldn't have schools,
Right.
but very, very interested in anything.
She's got street smarts.
Yeah.
Streets are all dirt and prairie, but
But yeah, basically just trying to get any details of who they actually are outside of just the Royal Society.
sure.
Offering up details of her own life.
Gotcha.
And oh yeah, we moved out here several years ago.
Yeah, which I mean, that's the kind of thing that intrigues both of them. You guys had known previously that Jules was asking these questions, but yeah, Rilla also kind of leans into, oh, you've been here a while. So we're gonna clear the doors because I'm not worried about it. And basically, you're giving them, because you're not being shy about it, a lot of the information that they've been trying to poke and prod, because yeah, you've moved here a year or so ago, and they're asking you all sorts of questions about weird events, as Chris and Isabel put so well, stories of what has happened around here, which as far as you nothing really significant. You got the occasional storm, the river floods. The only real significant out of the ordinary stuff, especially for your experience, your family's experience, is that the river is really nasty compared to every other river that you guys have come across. And then there's the semi-occasional mine collapse and problem.
But that happens.
Right. It's an ordinary
a side effect of mining.
Right. You don't like it when it happens, but it's shitty. But those tend to be, especially in a mining town, those are kind of your milestone of, oh yeah, then there was the collapse that so and so was injured in, and the mine collapse where so and so died, and you have these different little milestones, because out in the farms, yeah, they count and go by seasons and how good this harvest was or that. In the mine, you just keep mining. So, but yeah, so at that point, I think, especially now, with this, we pass over the gold, and there's a definite, they linger. Well, Rilla especially. Jules is kind of hanging on with Rilla because the two of them kind of move in a pair. But Rilla is like hanging out, and we can get a little bit stereotypical if she kind of hops up onto the counter while you're working, right? And like let's chat while you're working and doing stuff, and some other folks may come in and you guys continue your conversation while they work, as opposed to being the polite, oh, I'll stop. It's like, no, we're going to keep chatting because we're friends, and that's, supersedes your need to work. If you've been that friend, stop being that friend. Let them do their work. Also, remember, you always tip your friends 25% if you visit them in a restaurant. Anyways. Higher. Chris says higher. Whatever Chris says. But yes. So you're definitely in that position. And I feel like at this point also, you have had the opportunity to come up and see now, with a little help from possibly some of the miners, especially since they weren't doing anything, the actual viewing platform has now been built and kind of leveled, which is a lot of what some of the materials went towards, is having this very level. It's small, but it's where the telescope will be set on so they can get accurate measurements, and they give you a lot of scientific BS, which I think based off of Gisela's, prior experience, not a lot of science savvy, so some of it's just kind of over, but it's like, okay, azimuth and elevation, and those are words, yes. And then
I feel like she probably knows the stars.
Right. Mm-hmm, by names.
Like, she doesn't know the workings of a telescope or the science you're doing there, but like, name the constellations.
Right. Absolutely. And probably, you guys actually probably have a good little bit of a laugh about, oh, you call it this, well, we call it this, between the languages and cultures and stuff like that. But yeah, so like I said, you've been up there to see it at this point. And yeah, like I said, Rilla is, friendly with you. If nothing else, just because it's, you, Theo, Isabel, who are the other women around her age, generally speaking, that are single and not tied to, single. Theo's not single, but, are not, she is to everybody else.
Officially, she is single, yes.
Yeah.
But, who have, do not have the homestead to tend or anything like that. But you're the one who's like, chatty, as opposed to Isabel, who is also chatty, but she's dancing and singing, and that's when she is out and about. She's busy. Same thing.
She's a lot.
Yeah, she is a lot. And Theo, same kind of thing. I feel like Theo is constantly doing something. There's very little downtime for Theo, especially after Catherine says, "Yes, let's stay here, and we need money for that."
Basically I was trying to get... I really want to know about their codes. Like, I want to be able to look at their notes.
Gotcha.
I was trying to get, like, a level of trust, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. And yeah, go ahead and roll some... Yeah, presence plus persuasion, I think. +1 for your good relationship with her.
It's only 4 dice. No,
just can't bring it to do it mundanely.
I mean, I don't really have... Mind magic would be the thing that would let...
You can get yourself lucky.
It's true.
Like, bless everybody else.
You can also make the book fall out of her pocket or something like that.
It's a big book, but yeah, fall out of her bag.
I shouldn't say pocket. Let me not say pocket. I mean vessel or carrying.
Yeah, I mean, my worry about that would be then if I get caught with it, that shatters any trust we had going, and I would rather be allowed in.
Right.
Let's see. How to queue up exceptional luck. The ones that will give you
Get a boon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to give yourself a actual condition or bonus dice? What's your plan?
probably the bonus dice, just because the conditions. Like, I really like Charmed. I don't really see how it works most of the time. It's more just like something lucky happens.
Right. Charmed is the quintessential fate condition of, yep, you just kind of luck out in some way, but what it is, you don't have a lot of control over.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the bonus dice.
You do have control over using it to reduce damage, though.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. Well, it takes 2 reach. But you can do it reflexively. Like, I guess before you go to do a thing, you can just have it go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but because it is reflexive, it is 1 turn, so 1 yantra.
Mm-hmm.
Steadfast, by the way, is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. If you fail, you succeed.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get a single success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you succeed.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm being picky is because of things like oh my gosh, we were just doing a scrutiny and stuff like that.
Where it would count as 1.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you have to count the number, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Or extended tasks. Any kind of extended task, right?
Yeah, I think I only need 1 reach, right? I'm just doing it on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it will go
Reflexive
now.
takes 2.
Yeah, the reflexive will obviously add 1 because that's itself a reach.
No, I mean, like, just doing it instantly, just like as a cast on myself and then trying again in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, because you don't need it to happen right now.
Yeah, I don't need it just the second.
Yep.
I think the reflexive action replaces instant. You don't need to spend reach for instant. It's just +2 reach rider for casting it reflexively.
Right.
I see. You're choosing to cast it instantly. I misunderstood. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just because I don't need to overreach on this. It'll be potency 2, which I think is okay. It's a 2 dice bonus.
Sure.
For yantras, I like a rod, and then I'm basically trying to use it to compel her to do a thing. I'm trying to think of what it would be.
You are the subject of the spell.
Oh, right.
So mirrors are good.
That works. Like, turn around and just go, like, fix my hair in a mirror behind the counter.
Yeah. Make sure all your little bobby pins are in place. Bobby pins totally exist in 1846. Shut up. Actually, they probably do.
I'll use a willpower on this as well.
Okay.
You get willpower back from sleeping, don't you?
1 per sleep. Yep. So at this point,
so
you're
I
caught
should
up.
have all of them again.
Lean into
Yeah,
your
I'll spend
lives.
1, so that's 6.
And yours. 7?
Oh, great. 3 successes?
It definitely happens.
Okay.
Have you picked a praxis yet?
No. Was I supposed to?
You can't basically, while you are a newly awakened person, basically you spend a willpower point when you cast a spell and declare that it is now your praxis. That's how you get your first one.
Okay. I will think about that.
Mhm.
So now I have a 2 dice bonus for another mundane roll to try to...
Mhm.
reapproach this conversation. Yeah, I guess I would just sort of stress that, like,
well,
I'm really just really want to lay into, like, very interested in learning the science behind what you're doing, and your secrets are safe with me. Like, I don't know if she'd have told me about, like, oh, this is the cipher to save our secrets.
Yeah, and I think especially the whole idea of, like, listen, I'm Frontier Girl. I am not, another Royal Society member or even a scientist. I'm just curious. Yeah, that's a good vibe for it.
+2. I'll cover this one also.
And you still have the +1 because you're friends with Rilla.
Do I? Oh, okay.
Yep. You
That's
didn't
a lot.
suddenly.
This better work. This is so many dice. 2 successes. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, she kind of like gets this look and like kind of looks about. And of course, like there's nobody else here, and Jules is kind of eyeing her, and there's a look between the two of them, and Rilla kind of nods and shrugs, and you just watch Jules kind of roll his eyes and says, "I'm going to the tavern." And just kind of walks out, and Rilla pulls the bags. Well, actually, takes the bags that Jules is always carrying, and takes the big tome out, and kind of hefts it open to like the very first page, which even the front is written kind of like a traditional book in the fact that like, there's the title across and then like author name and stuff like that, but all of that is in the cipher. And she basically uses that as like the code, the key to kind of show you the cipher. And she doesn't tell you how to decode it so much as kind of shows you, oh yeah, this is what it means. So this is one of those things. She's giving you the big clues that you would need to, if you got hold of it yourself, to figure it out. So you can take the informed condition on Royal Society cipher. It's still going to be a thing that you have to, work at a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, she kind of just shows you, oh yeah, this is what this is. And it's actually a fairly simple cipher in terms of a certain couple little letter exchanges, and was a shifting cipher and some alphabet letter replacement that like anybody could figure it out, and you just basically you're spelling words differently. That's all it is, but it's enough that somebody who didn't know wouldn't be able to just immediately read through. They'd have to figure it out. But yeah, she kind of shares that. It definitely doesn't resolve and reveal any of the what's the science that they're doing, but she's like, fine, yeah, this is the cipher, and she flips through and kind of motions at a couple of the diagrams, which previously has been like very like, nope, I'm gonna flip the page so you can't even look at those. And a lot of them are measurements and elevations and angles and some different observations, and those are just written in numbers that you can kind of see, and a lot of them are basically telescope directions and stuff like that, which orientation, elevation, stuff like that. I only know a couple words for telescope stuff, so azimuth, elevation, horizon, that's about all you're going to get. But get a basic idea, and this book seems, as she flips through, basically just a lot of these different observation points of the telescope throughout London, well, England, down into France, down into Africa, into basically the East Coast and a lot of the more larger cities, New York, Boston, down to like Raleigh, Richmond. Yeah. and through a bunch of these different things in various latitudes, and then all of a sudden this sudden shift, and it's like, yep, we're gonna leave all of that, and then they headed out here. And so all these different measurements and stuff like that, which like she's flipping through quickly. You'll have to get hold of the book to actually make an idea of where they were pointing. But just kind of really all over the place kind of measurements. And then all of a sudden it's like, yep, we got to come out to Colorado. The fuck?
I'm just really interested in seeing what they're seeing here now.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, are you following something? Like looking at it in different places as it orbits or passes by?
I think she gives you kind of this...
Because I know about comets.
Right, yeah. And I think she kind of gives you this grin of, well, we're not exactly following something so much as, tracking it, I guess. And the little bit of smarmy, science... to the frontier girl kind of comes out again. But yeah, when you talk about like comets and some of the other known astronomical things,
or like an eclipse, things that look differently from different parts of the Earth,
right? And she's like, yeah, that's the right idea, and you definitely see words come out of her mouth before she can stop them kind of vibe of it's unknown astronomical phenomenon, and then she's like, oh, maybe that was too much. Absolutely not. This is definitely not a bit of maid shenanigans.
That's really interesting. It hasn't been here yet?
And yeah, she kind of clams up. She's like, it might have been.
I would really like to see it, whatever it is.
We are very excited about it too.
Okay.
I have an idea. I'm going to share it off stream so as to not ruin it if it's an actually good guess.
Gotcha. I appreciate that. But yeah, so you guys kind of wrap up, and yeah, once you start prodding a little bit more, and she's like, oh, I'm letting stuff,
too much I've said.
Book closes. She's like, okay, well, thank you again, and almost leaves without the stuff and comes back. It's like, thanks.
Oh yeah, in my head we were also having this whole conversation, like sitting down behind the desk.
Yes, absolutely.
Conspiratorially.
Yep. 100%. Had Jules turned a little closed sign when he left. Yeah. Anybody?
I can go.
Sure.
A couple things in the tavern. So I think Isabel has been trying to find out through the lens of spirit what other things might be capital F forces. I think the only one that she's really got a good idea of is fire.
Sure.
And so I think she's like every now and then like poking and prodding at the spirit of the hearth, or like the cook fire in the end. And I don't know that I really had any idea of what that might be, but just wanted to like delineate that that's like definitely her take on like, okay, so if the spirit does this, the fire gets bigger.
Do you like try and actually speak with the spirit and kind of encourage it, or is it okay? Yeah, so not necessarily even passive observation so much as encourage it, talk with it. Cool. I think we'll definitely put that in that column of trying to figure out forces kind of stuff. And I think so much as we'll go ahead and mention you learn some stuff, kind of experiment, and kind of get the idea of like, okay, fire needs fire, but it doesn't necessarily need a lit fire. Just the sheer presence of a fireplace, and some of that is enough to sustain it. And I think some of that even comes into conversation with Ganem, you know, which also, because I'm remembering now, you definitely get like, all right, stare down with Ganem, you know, it's like, eat. And you have that.
I'm playing to entertain these people. You are eating to entertain me.
That sounds so sinister.
Gotta be bossy.
Yep.
Because I think especially...
Fake it till you make it.
Well, and with between Alfoth and Ganem, and now like talking with the fire spirit, talking with the mine, and starting to realize a lot of this is... You have to be the predator. You have to put your foot down, be the alpha, and a lot of posturing.
Especially with running off those spirits that I didn't want around. Like just putting that imago together of you will listen.
Yeah, I'm the bigger, scarier, you know.
Right.
And because it's Chris, you know, I'm the bear, and I'm gonna stand up on my rear legs and be big. It's
big and scary.
Yep. So yeah, I think you definitely make some progress along that lines, and definitely, you know, have some time to observe. I don't even think we need to necessarily do like scrutiny with it, but observe Ganem that once a day eating resonance from the flute. You know, possibly your playing kind of pauses, because I feel like that's when Ganem can actually, you know, like a flute being a flute is one thing. A flute when played is when, you know, it's really being a flute instead of a metal stick. And, you know, get that chance to like watch him eat, and kind of get the vibe.
Yeah, I figured like the actual resonance is music. Like he's actually a music spirit.
Potentially those.
Yeah. Maybe that's too esoteric. Yeah, I'm leaning esoteric.
Yeah, into the Goche realm, but yes, yeah, or even just sound, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, and yeah, definitely get that sense, and possibly have a conversation with Ganem about. Wait, hang on, what is essence? And finally, kind of broach that, and kind of, especially, I don't even know if she would call it mana necessarily, but that internal reservoir that you've got, and Ganem is like, yeah, I have that same thing, and you have a little chit chat about that. Cool, I like that.
At this point, especially with like having to do so much with Ganem and everything, I gotta imagine this flute's gotta be pretty close to being a dedicated magical tool.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
Okay.
And check that off and get your paradox reduction in, because you have been casting just about every spell using it in one way.
Yeah.
Which brings me actually back around to who has dedicated magical tools at this point.
I think I'd be the first.
I don't have a dedicated. I have tools. I just don't have a dedicated one.
Right.
We discussed the possibility of Cloak starting with a dedicated magical tool, that being the Asan, but agreed that it would be more interesting if everyone acquired them in the course of play.
Right. I couldn't remember where we had ended up there. So cool. Awesome. Yeah. Which, I mean, I know you've been using your Asan for most of your spells, so hell yeah.
I haven't cast a spell without it.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I was thinking through, but yep, I like it. Cool.
So maybe along the lines of like Gisela sharing her knowledge, Isabel, like, you know, make up a spell that I'm pushing myself for as far as this experiment or whatever. And it's like, wait, hold on, that should have
drained your reserve, but instead...
I should have strained. I should have had to fight back against that one or whatever. I like that idea of this in her head. It's fighting back against the spell, like trying to rein it in.
Because she's a Theosis, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But this one didn't have to fight it as much.
I imagine there's like a locked in bit of Nimbus
Well, because
on a magical tool.
it's your dedicated magical tool, so it's connected to you, if I remember correctly.
Well, I don't have space, so but
oh, that's true. Yeah.
but I'm imagining that when you look at, if you have 5 mages lined up, and you look at a dedicated magical tool, you can go that one.
Yeah, because it does tie to your Nimbus.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so maybe just like looking at that for a few minutes and then like running off, probably to find Cloak.
Which actually does remind me, because I meant to bring this up earlier. Throughout this kind of 2-week span that we've got, do you guys basically arrange a regular like meetup? Because especially now that Gisela is telling people about scouring, Isabella's started to figure out dedicated magical tools. Do you guys start to have like regular meetups? And you guys remember this is my thing way back when. It's like, oh yes, meeting under the cover of dark, all surreptitiously.
I feel like there's still enough barriers between us that we wouldn't like all get together, but we would sort of share stuff in a gossipy kind of way, sort of a pollination of ideas.
Like, maybe like each of us favors one person particularly or whatever currently. Yeah. If there is a group meetup, I don't think it's like a scheduled or regular thing.
Right.
Is probably kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Or it's like, I'm going to
pass this along.
Right.
If you see, yeah.
After Cloak recovers and Isabel came and visited him, he started going over there more frequently. So I think in the course of the 2 weeks, he's sought out Isabel 3 times and also tried to make contact with Theo if she's available.
Yep. And of course, everybody knows, like, is the sun still up? Okay, we know where Gisela is. Right? Yep. I'm not even supposed to be in today.
There's more opportunities for us to see each other in a regular capacity, that it doesn't stand out.
Yeah.
Right, but it's always meeting on usually individual terms.
Right.
Yeah.
There is one thing that Cloak would want to talk to everybody about if we're able to do this scene session. Otherwise, I'll bring it up next time.
Sure.
Okay. We got time.
Yep.
Cool. Great. So, as I discussed, I'd like a scene where Cloak is expanding his understanding of mind, and he can do that through stretching himself to actually invade Arthur's mind and try and recover his memories.
Well, less recover, because like Arthur isn't missing memories.
Sorry, I shouldn't use the word recover. I didn't mean to suggest something different than I intended. What I mean to say is extract his memory, view his memories, acquire his memories.
Sure.
So that he can share them.
Because let's see here. Can you do that with
Mind 3?
Mind 3? Right. Yeah. So, because I know you'd mentioned that you wanted that being the catalyst to bump you into Mind 3, which actually reminds me, because Craig, you were thinking of taking Death 3 after the Graveyard. So yeah, if you both want to mark those off, Chris,
Sure,
I know you were talking about Forces 1. Yeah, cool. Having ranged from, big scary storm down to this little fire and starting to see how these things are tied together. And what do you think, Ash, because you were looking at oh, hang on, I have a message here. What is this? Oh,
it says DC.
But because I know you're talking about Gnosis and Prime, do you think you're quite there yet?
No, I need to meet with Cloak.
Oh, well, by happenstance,
right.
Cloak is trying to get everybody together.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely the meeting that she's been putting off the most, because your invitation to come down to the darkness of the mind, where you're going to, like, come into the dark mind and we're going to go inside your thoughts. Not down for it. But also, like, I've seen the other two. They've shown me some things. I've interacted with things that are outside my wheelhouse with theirs. And I guess I gotta suck it up and go see what you can show me.
Sure.
Alrighty, cool. Sounds good to me.
But yeah, if it is set this
You
up.
can do that beforehand or after the group meeting.
Right, that's what I was
It's up
going to
you.
ask. Because I think, Cloak is putting out this, Jean-Paul is putting out this, invite for everybody. Do you go and, chat with him beforehand or, before that day, Sunday when everybody's out of the mine, or do you wait for that day, just out of curiosity?
I would probably wait until the meeting and then just sort of stick around afterwards.
Cool.
Rather than going out of my way to go visit the barracks or whatever.
Cool.
Right, so Cloak will call everybody together, and then if they're willing, he would of course go to the cleaned space where everybody meditates in the mines, we took Theo before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place of quiet and consistency that he likes.
Cool.
Because he wants to share with him, and he'll say, he wants to share with them something inside of his own mind that he thinks everybody needs to know. And he wants their insight. And so, considering we're doing this in a descriptive fashion, right, I'm also cool with anybody, responding to what I'm suggesting here in any way they like. So, Cloak would set it up. If Theo arrived first, right, it might be cinematic for what he intends. He'd remind Theo of the process of getting into a calm meditative stance, and then ask for her assistance to make the other two comfortable. And so then encourage people to wash and lay down in sequence into this comfortable place where all of our heads are together. So Cloak, and he'll ask Theo to help him aid Isabel and Gisela into getting into a meditative state, and then he'll help Theo get into it, and then he'll get into it. Before he falls into it, he'll cast telepathy to link minds. And then, of course, he'll make it voluntary, right? And then once we're all in this meditative state, he'll try and bring people to like a plane that kind of looks like one outside of Purgatory Bluff. And then say he wants to bring them to the mine collapse, because he was able to view it from Arthur's perspective, and he wants to know if there's information there that they might be able to extract, because he still can't make sense of what happened.
One thing. I feel like I should have to roll to meditate.
Heck
Because
yeah.
Gisela's never been anywhere near a meditative state in her entire life.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
just like, can you even do it?
Yep.
What's the roll?
Resolve
It takes
exposure.
it takes some convincing.
So
of
resolve
Isabel,
composure,
right? Like,
yeah.
And Theo would say, like,
Composure.
I've done this before. It's very interesting.
No, it's more than just like who she is as a person. Being able to turn your mind off and
Settle.
open up is not a thing.
Hmm. Resolve composure.
Yeah.
And Drew said you get a +3, or at least that was what Theo got. So I shouldn't assume that it's the same.
+3?
Appreciate that, but yeah, still +3.
This I should be able to do it. That's 9 dice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you yeah, and that was the thing I was gonna say. Gisela though is good at meditating.
I was kind of hoping I would fail, just because having 9 dice and then still not making it is great.
Would be also very Gisela. But yeah,
it's pretty
both
funny.
of you take that that time to settle in, and a lot of it is Theo's coaching, and I'll be honest, because it's narrative, you guys may individually, the role is successful, but it may take you guys a bit to just even make the attempt, and like going through, it's like we're doing what exactly, but
what?
yeah, and I think for Isabel
No.
especially,
especially for Isabel's like, you want to what? No. Why?
yeah,
For what purpose?
for both, is it considering Isabel's background and who she is, plus also it's Thyrsis and mind is their inferior. Why are we
Nah.
doing this? This is not. I like that.
Cloak would of course respond, you showed me how to see the world differently.
Yeah.
I love it like that as soon as he pulls it out, she just crumples. Like,
So fine.
Because like a lot of that, like that teasing scene and opening Cloak's eyes was meant to be like
It's real nice.
Like she was talking to herself as much as she was talking to him.
Mhm.
Right?
Ah, yeah.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, with that, you guys settle in, and I do think this is definitely one of those spots where, you know, Ralph, I think we discussed this, where it's like Cloak, especially because you already paid for and picked up Astral Adept, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Yep.
totally.
So Cloak is like, I can totally breach this. Like, I recognize what's going on. I can get deeper. And I think with using the telepathy, like, you start that journey down and, like, try to bring them along. And you have this moment of, like, you know, the connection and the grip you have with them is like smoke suddenly and just passes away. And so, like, bringing them into your own Neros this way, it doesn't seem that they are gifted the same way. They don't have the training, I imagine, is the way Cloak thinks of it, to go so deep. And without even, like, rolling with this stuff, it's like, okay, hang on, resetting and then bringing them into your dreams in a waking dream, which not quite as useful as the Oneros, but of course Cloak doesn't even know that. But in the dreams as an active participant.
Cool. And I mean, of course, with mind, right, with his now increased skill in mind, he can present images through telepathy, right? Me? Really? Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna get new tech. So he would just bring forth the experiences of Arthur, right? From a distance, like say we're going to view this, let people know that we're going to enter a space where the mind collapse is going to happen from Arthur's perspective. We will be witnessing it through his eyes.
Which is a little bit horrific.
I bet.
Yeah.
And so then afterwards he'd say, what happened?
Giesel and Theo have a little bit of info there, sort of.
I'm all about transitions and the changing the states of one thing into another, and I don't understand what happened here. There was nothing about this mine that should have collapsed.
I have a theory.
Please.
There was a being there.
Do you use the high speech for it?
Yeah, it's the word that they would know. In my head, I'm still keepers.
From the place.
They mind the threads. But yeah, I looked back as far as I could into the past to try to see. In this world, nothing caused it. It just was there, and then it fell. Mortimer was just as surprised as everyone else. So.
All right.
Then, afterwards there was a being sitting where the collapse was.
So he is in a story.
He is, and I don't know that he knows it.
Well, I tried to tell him and he took offense.
Oh.
I was under the impression he was causing it, but I think you might be right. I think this might be happening to him.
Maybe it's happening to us or to the town. And it has nothing to do with him.
Odd that things would start going weird when he shows up.
Still seems too coincidental, yeah.
I mean, and like gesturing around at the dream that we're in and the four of us.
Yeah.
Pot,
Mr.
kettle?
Bethune is not the only weird thing that has happened in this town.
Cloak nods gratefully at Isabel when she says that.
Perhaps I was brash in my assessment. Accusation, almost.
I have been suspicious of him since he came. But that is because I'm inclined to be suspicious of people I don't know.
It is always good to be suspicious of the English.
Well, actually, yeah, with this group, yeah. I also appreciate the near simultaneous little half nod from everybody.
Yes.
Cloak says, I think he is less. I think he means better than. I now think he means better than it seemed at first. I'm worried about that mine. For many reasons. It should be obvious. You say there was a being present. Have you talked to this being?
I tried. They don't. I don't know if they choose not to or if they can't communicate, but do you see things, right?
I see things.
And I see, I use this pronoun, like high speech beings, but I didn't see what, like we were there together and I didn't see anything. So I wonder if there's only certain ones that we can see.
Different. I mean, I don't see ghosts.
Or maybe it showed itself to you, or...
Cloak, as he says the next thing, he looks at Isabel with a kind of like, I know, I gotta think outside the box, but, I'm trying. He says, I was trained to think of things in a very fixed way. That the only non-human beings we really experience at the lower, they're all the lower. I now realize that might be not a complete understanding. However, I think that the way we approach the lower might be helpful. I think that most beings, if you cannot interact with them, just require you to figure out a way to provide them with the means, or a way for you to visit them, as Isabel demonstrated to me. So he uses the word, spirit in high speech. He says, spirits are around. I can't see them until Isabel helped me. Just because I can't see them does not mean they're not there. I know that I can visit the Loa, and he uses capital L, right? I can bring them here. I can bring them various places. And even before I awakened, I interacted with them. Perhaps there is some ceremony you can perform. I don't know what that would look like, because I don't understand the being that you're talking about. But I think if I were to try and talk to a Loa that I saw in my sight, I would try to perform some kind of ceremony using the magic I know. And in fact... Go ahead, sorry.
Could I let you see it? We have telepathy, right?
Yeah.
Can I show it to you?
Cloak?
Sure.
Cloak immediately like scoffs at himself, like, why didn't I just ask you to do that? Yes, you have control over your own thoughts here.
Okay. And I'm going to basically just close my eyes and just screw up and mentally see the picture of the thing.
Yeah, which and I think it is suddenly just there in everybody's minds, full in forefront and just all up in your face. And yeah, for Isabel, you've seen spirits before, but they all kind of fit to the natural world or emotions and stuff like this. And this is this swirling vortex of what the fuck.
I don't like it.
Yep. Perry says, "Can you see my screen now?"
Yeah.
Suddenly, big Moire is suddenly just floating there in front of you all.
Huh.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen similar ones around sometimes.
So, and there is not a lesser version of these,
Not that I've seen.
more accessible, or
Oh yeah, that's true, because for Isabel, you see beasts and
You have
totems,
spirits.
Right.
but also spirits. That's true.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I've seen what you see, and
Right.
you have the little ones you can
well,
talk
but
to.
you have not. I cannot show you
Those.
my version of this.
Yes.
Why not?
I don't see the little ones. It's only the big ones.
This is the best scene ever. Please continue.
Why don't you show us, Isabel?
So here's Alphoth.
Yeah.
Here's the
Well, yeah.
beast.
Yeah. Like a fucking I don't know. I'm gonna make up one on the spot. A like
One of those grassland spirits from the Discord.
I don't even think.
no, I was thinking like a big like tortoise, like house-sized tortoise, but with like a grassland, like savanna, like waving on its back, like very Torterra sort of thing, and just like
Yeah.
walking by out on the plain. It's like that versus the spirits that you've seen. Getting them. I mean, some of us shared our experience and like awakening sense, but we know that we have different blessings, so perhaps there is more to it.
I think there is.
Can I show
So,
the
Like,
threads?
go ahead. Ash.
Like, I don't see. There are no little beings, but there are the threads, the tapestry.
It's true.
Like, there's differences that I see too. Like, there's different, almost classes. And we're in the dream realm, right? I'll manifest a ghost.
Mhm.
Like, I see these moderately frequently, and then I'll manifest a specter.
Oh.
I've only seen a couple of those, but those are something entirely different. I've never been able to interact with them.
Sorry, Spectre is
Stygia.
the death beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Death Supernals.
Yeah, okay. So you did the same thing,
Yep.
essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a quick reminder, because for all of you, you all have that joint, though different, experience of awakening, and these are the
Mhm.
things you saw in the awakening.
In there.
Mhm. Yeah, because like Cloak would be able to see Goche, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're so rare in the fallen world.
Hmm.
To
Oh
actually,
yeah, they don't have a real Twilight, do they? Right?
right, there is a
They have
twilight
Twilight.
for them, but they don't arrive naturally because they live in
Right.
your mind.
In the mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Cloak has seen like at least one, right?
Yeah, he's seen
Yeah.
he's
basically,
experienced Goetia through like voodoo
Right.
and then awakening and things like that. So if that was an invitation, Ash, Cloak would definitely follow suit with everyone else. Then so he would say, these are what Loa are to me. And he would manifest. What would he manifest? He'd manifest, Baron Samdi. Just because of who's in the group. Yeah, exactly. And he would look at Theo and say,
He seems fun.
Theo, I think you
I'm
would
definitely
enjoy
getting
a
a
conversation.
vibe.
One thing I think I've mentioned to you all before that is probably helpful to reinforce is that Vodou is not just a form of religious practice. It is a different perspective on life. It's a different perspective on your place in the world and how you orient, how you understand yourself, how you conceive of your identity. And that is reinforced by the Loa and their dictates and what we gain from them, what we see from them. Baron Samdi is a protector and encourager of everyone to recognize their identity in many terms. And so, without going into queer theory, right, considering this is 1846 and Cloak is a bit, relatively ignorant, right, he uses terms in the context of Vodou, right? And he says that we have sex and gender, and we are told different things in Haiti. And although people cannot rule against who you will be with, who you will love, and who you will share time with, the influences of Catholicism and various other aspects of society make it so that Vodou functions as a sanctuary and a place of freedom for everyone, regardless of what society tells them about who they should be. So he then manifests Urzuli Dantor and Urzuli Freda, respective protectors and patron Loa of gay men and lesbians. It's I think Dantor and Freda and Dantor respectively. And then he says, however, when we are mounted by the Loa, that is not the same thing as interacting with. And then he says what did he say? He says demon in high speech. He doesn't know that word, but whatever the word is. And he says, this is what I thought Loa were. I intend to bring one forth into this world if I can. Because up until this point, none of us have been able to contact the Loa, and he uses lowercase here, and points at Urzuli Freda or Dantor or Byron Samdi. None of us have been mounted. I haven't spoken to them, they haven't said anything to me, and I don't know why. But I think that
since coming here.
I use... What was that?
Since coming here,
Oh,
Colorado.
yeah. Since coming here, they haven't visited. They haven't mounted. We've done everything the same, but we haven't seen them. They haven't spoken to us. And I don't know why. I think that I might need to appeal higher. I might need to use my magic with what I know from Vodou and see if I can reach Papa Legba. Because he
Cloak
is the Loa I know. Yeah, exactly. He is the one who mediates the connection between humanity and those above.
Good luck.
I don't know how it will go. If you'd like to be there.
Yeah, let's everybody be here for the first summoning.
Make it super hard. I think I'll pass on that one.
Okay.
It seems
Personal.
improper. Yeah, this is your Loa and your people's.
Plus, you mentioned there were two ways that we could probably talk with these beings.
Yes.
Either bringing them here or going there.
Yes.
And I have no desire to go wherever you have been.
Pandemonium is kind of fucked.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels. It feels wrong to sort of intrude on this.
There's clear. It does seem very personal. There's clear differences in what the four of us can see and interact with, and how we. Yeah, And when we were trying to do that thing before, like you weren't able to interact the same way that I was.
Oh.
I know it's not the same, but it just reinforces the idea that maybe this is something that we should do on our own.
Wait. Gisela, how many arcana have you seen?
That I've seen with my eyes? Or that I've experienced being near?
How many? Yeah. You seem to know something about Prime that you said before. And I've learned forces now. So, how many more are there?
Did we not figure that out in the Awakening?
At this point, and it's kind of up there of like maybe there's more you don't know, but at this point, between the four of you and sensing Prime and probably forces at one point, well, actually, it would only be supernatural stuff, so probably not. But and then starting to study forces and actually having the dot in it, it's like, wow, there's 10 of them here.
So. Is there a fifth?
A fifth blessing?
At this point, my mind is just taken off running with like, where are the little ones? You all have little ones.
That's true.
How come you guys get little ones and I don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what led me to put that together from Isabel's perspective. Is like, all three of us get one. Why don't you have one?
That's your deal.
That seems weird and wrong. And have I just not seen them?
So perhaps there's a fifth. Interesting.
Why do we not?
I mean, I've definitely felt Prime as a thing.
Right.
So, like, I know there is more Arcana than we have.
Right.
So, someone's got it.
Now, the question is, are they in town?
There was the night we first started probing one another with our magic, there was another, I had the same sort of sensation of something happening nearby. I didn't see what it was or where it came from, but it wasn't related to any of you. Maybe there is someone else here.
You wouldn't know that. All you would know is something pinged your mage site.
Yeah, I know there's something pinged on mage site, but like when I looked around, it wasn't. I didn't see any active effects from any of you.
Yeah, looking back now that you know our nimbuses, you can connect it. That wasn't from any of us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we weren't together at the time, so.
You're good, Greg. Yeah, I get where you're at. Yeah, you've done some algebra here, and arcane algebra.
Yeah, and there was no nimbus, as I recall. Like, I didn't see anything. Something pinged my mage site, and I didn't see anything. So maybe there's something else going on here, or somebody else.
There's definitely something else.
Is that the Prime ping you mentioned before? Can you show it to me?
It said, sure. I guess I'll show you what it looked like in my head, which is kind of like the imposing of the rune.
Yeah, the big high speech rune, which actually maybe for the first time, like you guys are, well, no, because when you study stuff, you see these runes. But yeah, the big Prime, the giant T, because it's the only one I have memorized.
That's what happens every time something happens. But this one was new.
For you, that happens every time?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Maybe that's your little one.
You just get supernal, you just get Arcana slapped every time
supernal
something...
pings. But yeah, and then I pulled a card about it, and it said it was dangerous.
Hmm.
And out of character, it's related to Mortimer in some way?
I don't think
Or
so.
finding out about it lies through Mortimer?
Yes.
Okay.
Looking into it requires me to get the book, to read the book.
Right.
Or that is step one.
Well, that's going to happen for sure.
Oh,
Whether you read it in
Can-
person or you read it in somebody else's mind.
you get the pages that I have seen.
Ooh.
Oh,
Mind
yeah.
3, does that give you photographic memory, right?
I can just grant you perfect
Perfect
recall.
That one, yeah.
That's one
I
dot
can summon your memories.
mind.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen it, and I know the cipher.
You've seen his book?
Couple pages, because it was a lot of
Yeah,
like.
some of it.
Mhm. Was definitely not like
If you
page
bring-
by page.
If you
Yeah,
bring
give
it
me
here,
a piece of paper and a pen, and I'll start. I can't bring you the book. I have what I've seen.
But
no, I mean,
he can
if you can,
just
yes, please go.
you can just pull it out.
Yes, if you have trouble, I can bring it perfectly from your mind. I know this. He says with a capital N, and I can perfect what is meant in those words, so that we can all read it now.
Like you can pull memories out of your head that are clearer than what your memory is.
With your permission.
I mean, will that decode it? I mean,
There
we
is
can
something
remember what
else.
the page looked like, but it's written in a code. But
can
I know
decode
how
it.
to decode it.
Oh. I can also help you all with that.
Isabel just turns around and brings back a little bit of grassland to stare at.
Usually get me a pen or a paper and a pencil. And I'm just gonna start copying down what was in my head.
Why don't you just bring
and-
it forth here?
And within
Well, I
You can
mean,
do anything.
within
Do
your
we not want
thoughts
to
and
have
stuff.
it elsewhere?
Ah, I see. Sure. If you'd like to leave the Dreamscape. I just meant we can do that now and you can write it down later as well. It's up to you.
Sure.
Sure. If you
And
wait, I can
That
help
is
you
where
write it
we'll
down.
hint.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
summoning up the picture of this book in my head.
Yeah, and that's actually probably where we'll stop for now. That way I can figure out a bunch of pages about a book.
Yeah.
As I was asked, let me pull up this bit in Discord here because I love this. Somebody messaged me and actually asked me, "Hey, you're a good storyteller. What are your advice?" And I was like, "Oh man, the imposter syndrome is hitting really hard right now." But if you want to know how to mage storytell, I believe my exact words are: hang on to your hat, expect players to blow everything up, and don't plan for them to do specific actions to get past the problem. Just plan on what happens after they get past the challenge. This would be one of those exact scenarios of
Hey.
oh, yes, I've seen the book. I know what the cipher is, and I have the ability to pull your memories out. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it won't be all the pages of the stupid book, but we're going to have some information. So
We're going to get him.
we'll do that when we come back.
Sounds good.
As always, thank you all very much for joining us. I don't know exactly where we'll be next week because, we'll obviously be playing, but we may still be in a little bit of downtime. Well, actually, maybe not. I think we've,
Well, not down narrative time.
but I think, I think we've kind of caught up with most of the big scenes. That we have one big one for Cloak still, but otherwise, next week we might be back on the trail of this mystery, capital M.
Oh yeah.
So as always, thank you all very much for joining us. If you want to support us monetarily and join the ever-growing list of patrons who scramble, well, okay, there's only 2 who regularly scramble their names, but if you want to join that illustrious list, come by Patreon, patreon.com/occultistanonymous or staylucky.club. It supports what we do with tech. I will go figure out how to fix my mic so I can get off of this thing, and that's from your guys' support, and we greatly appreciate it. If you want to join our community and chat with us and come join our Discord, that's yeetinto.space, and come hang out with us there. You don't have to chat. You can be just a lurker, or come share stories about your stuff, because it's not just about Occultists Anonymous. I mean, it's Occultists Anonymous Discord, but we love to just chat about your stuff, and we have like 4 or 5 different folks who are joining and sharing their various chronicles. We've got 2 different werewolf games and a mage game, and some people talking about their D&D game. It's cool. We want to hear about your stuff, and admittedly some people will poke and you'll be like, well, why did they do that? But a lot of us will go, ooh, and then what happened? Or as somebody mentioned, and this group joined our zoo chronicle, and so now we have a mage in with a werewolf, a Promethean, and a Geist, and so that's just going to be a heck of a chronicle. Stuff like that, come hang out. We really do like to have you there, and there's a spot where you can go talk about Final Fantasy 14 too, now with a free trial through Heaven's Sword, blah blah blah, to level 60. You know how it goes.
Join us.
You know how that goes. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
See y'all later.